What's going on, guys? Stefan here with you, S&E's Garage, and today we are going to find everything wrong with our $2,000 Acura TSX. So the title and intro says it all. We're going to go over this car. We're going to go over the front suspension, the rear suspension, the brakes, the engine, and we're going to get this car on the path to being ready to sell. Now, because this is an Acura, this vehicle on Kelley Blue Book books out to almost $6,000, even with this mileage. But that is in very good condition. I would not consider this car to be in very good condition. It does have some issues that we are probably not going to fix, like the ripped driver's seat, for example. We're probably not going to take care of that. I'll probably just slap a seat cover over that. But we are going to buff this paint. We are going to do a video on restoring these headlights. I am going to order a new used fog light to put in here. And we're going to do our best to make this car present as best as it can. I'm planning on listing it between $4,500 and $4,800. So we'll see where we go with it. But like I said, let's get right into this and figure out exactly what we need to do to fix it. Now, our first and most noticeable issue with this car is the noise that is coming from the accessory drive. One of these accessories, whether it's power steering pump, alternator, one of the idlers, is screaming. The second you start the car, you hear it. So let's go ahead, let's set you up on the tripod. Let's start it up, and I'm going to show you exactly how to diagnose this. Now, as you can see, something is screaming under here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a long screwdriver, we're going to make sure our hoodie strings are tucked in, and we're going to put the screwdriver up to our ear, and we're going to touch the various components and see where our noise is coming from. So I'm going to start at the water pump, and or the power steering pump up here rather, and I'm going to work my way down. I don't have to go any further. That alternator, the bearings are screaming. So the first thing that we're going to add to our list is an alternator. So this alternator is absolutely shot. The bearings are screaming. I put my screwdriver right here on the case and it almost blew my ears out. So we are definitely going to get one of them ordered. If Honda is anything like Toyota, Toyotas do not like aftermarket alternators. I'm sure Hondas don't either. But we are going to use a Denso remanufactured alternator. Denso is an original equipment manufacturer for things like alternators and starters. For Japanese vehicles, so I'm sure a Denso will be perfectly fine in this car. We went ahead and actually ordered one already, $117 with a $60 core. So once we do the job, we give them the core back, we get $60 back, and we're in this for $117 so far. So now what I would like to do, we're going to do an oil change. It's due for one. It's easy, cheap, and it's another selling point. The car doesn't need to go to the shop right after they buy it. We are going to do spark plugs, and we're going to check the air filter. So let's go ahead. We're going to pop these 4 screws out here and pop out the air filter. If we need one of them, we'll order it. If that one is dirty, I'm going to assume the cabin filter is as well, and we will order one of them. So let's set you up, pull it off. All right, guys, so let's go ahead. Pull this open here. Man, they don't make it easy, Honda. Jeez, Honda, make it easy. There we go. And you'll see this filter is pretty dirty. So we will go ahead and order one of them. And we'll also order a cabin filter for it as well. Now, one thing we noticed here when we pulled this intake duct open was that it actually has a rip on it. Right in here, you'll see it. So I'm probably going to try to order one of these too, just so I know it's good. Now that the light's on, you might be able to see it a little bit better. Right down in there, you'll see it's torn. Alright guys, so now that we're done under the hood, just to summarize, we're going to do an intake tube, an air filter, spark plugs, oil change, and we're going to take care of this alternator. Now the next thing I want to do is move on to the front suspension, because we definitely have some issues going on here. Just judging by how these tires have worn, I'm thinking I have a lower ball joint, upper ball joint, or maybe control arm bushing issues. And you'll see that these tires also wore in a similar fashion. More so on the inner edge, you'll see we have cords showing here as well. So let's go ahead, let's jack this car up. And I am going to show you how to check the ball joints on a Honda/Acura. They're a little different than a McPherson strut setup because the lower control arm and the lower ball joint is loaded. So in order to check that, what you actually need to do is what's called unload the suspension by using a jack to put pressure on that lower control arm to unload it so you can check for play. So we're going to go ahead, jack the front of the car up. Before I pull the wheels, we'll put the car up on jack stands, and then we'll grab the jack, load up the suspension on each side, shake it down. Now I went ahead and put gloves on for this because I don't know about you, but I have been bitten by a steel belt on a tire before, and it hurts. So don't do that. But I just want to show you how I have this jack set up. I went ahead and jacked up the lower control arm right under the lower control arm, as close to the ball joint as you can without interfering with the wheel. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and shimmy the suspension and see what kind of play we have. Alright guys, so the jack is set up just like I showed you. Again, the wheel is still free, so it's not being bound up, but all the weight on this car is being supported by that lower control arm. So what we're going to do, grab the wheel top and bottom, and we're going to wiggle. And what this is doing is checking both the upper ball joint and the lower ball joint for play. And everything, ow, steel radio. I just got done telling you not to let the steel get you, and it got me. But everything here feels tight. So now again, we're going to go side to side. And everything here feels tight too. Now just for added measure, we're going to come under the car. And like I said, right now this suspension is completely unloaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a pry bar right there in between the lower ball joint and the upper control arm. And I'm going to try to pry the knuckle up and see if we have any movement in that joint. And if we don't, we're in good shape. Then I'm going to do the same on this side. And then we'll pull the wheels and inspect the control arm bushings, because I think that's where our issue is going to be. Ball joints on this thing are good. That's huge. Ball joints suck on Hondas, so I'm so happy I don't have to do that. But let's go ahead. I'm going to charge up the air compressor here, and we're going to pull the front wheels off, and we're going to check the brakes. And I'm almost guaranteeing you we're going to find some obliterated lower control arm bushings, because the ball joints are tight, tie rod ends are tight. Something's got to be causing the suspension geometry to be way out to wear the tires like that. So that's where my money is. Let's see if my theory is correct. Alright guys, so just as I suspected, these lower control arm bushings are shot. You can see the metal inside of the bushing there. You can see that big tear on the front side of the bushing. And if I grab a pry bar, I'll put you on the tripod in a second. I'll show you. That thing's moving a lot. So we're going to put some lower control arms in this. While we're in here, we're going to inspect our axles. You'll see our inner boot and our outer boot. They are in good shape. There are no rips or tears. This shock looks to be in good shape. There's maybe a little bit of oil down here, but it's not making its way all the way down, so we should be good there. This ball joint boot is good. There are no rips. Again, we checked it for play. Our brakes are at about half life, maybe a little bit more, so we don't need to touch them on this side, which is awesome. So this thing is actually going to be looking really good. I'm thinking we can just replace these lower control arms here. The new lower control arms that we would buy would come with new bushings, so we don't even have to mess with trying to pull these out. And this one's actually looking like it's going to be really good. So let's go ahead. Let's pull the wheels off on the other side. We'll do the same thing. We'll inspect that lower control arm bushing, the rest of the suspension. Then we'll get under the car, check for leaks, check for any damage under there. Once we're under there, we can check the sway bar end links and kind of get a feel for what else we might need on the front half of the car. Alright guys, we have the same deal going on here. On this side, you'll see the bushing is completely torn on that side and completely torn on this side. So that is where all of our movement in the suspension is coming from. You'll see our shock here also looks to be in good shape. Our brakes on this side are also half-life or better, so we are not going to need to touch them. Our inner axle boot is in good shape, as is the outer. I don't see any grease slung anywhere, so this is actually looking really good. Here you'll see our trans mount also looks to be in good shape. So let's get under the car. Let's check these sway bar end links. Let's check for leaks, and then let's move on to the back and take it from there. Now this right here is a testament to the kind of vehicles that Honda makes. This thing has almost 240,000 miles on it, and I don't see a single leak. This oil pan is dry on the front and the back. Here's our oil filter up here. It looks like we might have a small leak up there at the valve cover. I'm not really too worried about that. That's something that we would probably let go. I'll spray that down and clean it up. Or that could just be, maybe that, what is that, the VTEC cylinder? Maybe there's a little leak there. We'll check that out. But I'm not really too concerned about that. That's a little seepage. Not something I'm probably going to fix, if I'm completely honest with you. But let's come up here. Let's look up by our radiator. And I'm not seeing any leaks here. This radiator is nice and dry. Trans cooler fittings are a little rusty, but that is to be expected here in the salt belt. I'm not overly concerned about that. But I am really liking what I see under here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put you guys down for a second, and I'm going to grab these sway bar end links. And this one actually, that boot looks ripped, so I might just order end links anyway, because it looks like we have to take them off, at least to some extent, to do these lower control arms. So maybe I'll just order them, but we're going to check them for play anyway really quick. And all we're going to do is grab this sway bar. Yep, and we have play in this one, if you listen. So that end link is bad. Let's come over here. This one is not. So you know what? We're going to put two end links in this. It's the least we can do. We'll do the two lower control arms. We'll do the two sway bar end links. And I think that's all we're going to have to do up here, which is awesome. And one thing I wanted to show you guys, like I showed you before, is these tires. They are completely shot. So what we went ahead and did is we went on Facebook Marketplace and we found these tires for $170. They are Starfire tires, so they're not the best tire in the world. But they have a ton of tread on them. They are the correct size. And the date code is from 2021, so they are relatively new. So on a flip, when you're flipping a car, you want to fix it cheap, but you want to fix it right. And a tire is a tire. It's round and it's black and it holds air. So you don't have to buy new tires for a flip. You can find them used, and that's exactly what we did. Saved ourselves $200-300 by going that route. So I'm super excited about that. But with that being said, let's get these front wheels on. Let's get this thing back down on the ground. Let's get into the rear. We'll jack the back of it up, check the rear suspension, and we'll make a list and order what we have to order. All right, guys, here we are in the back. Again, we're going to start with our brakes. And again, on this car, they are about half-life, so we don't need to touch them. Again, we're going to check our bushings here on our lower or upper control arms here, and actually all of the control arms, and they all appear to be in nice shape. We're just going to, grab them all, give them some shakeage, see if we feel anything. And we don't. Our shock here appears to be in nice shape. Or strut, whatever you want to call it, same thing. This car is actually in really nice shape for 230,000 miles. I might keep this one. Just don't tell my fiance that. So let's come over on this side. Again, this shock appears to be in nice shape. You can see this control arm is leaking a little bit of grease here on the boot. It's not really a huge deal yet. And it's tight. That's all tight. These are tight. Now, I did hear a little bit of rattling back here on my drive home. So I am going to come under the car, and again, we're going to check the sway bar end links. Let me set you up. Spark notes, I already know what it needs. Just want to show you. So let me set you up. Let's get under the car. We'll do some wiggling. All right, guys, so what you're looking at here, here's our sway bar. This is our end link. We're going to get under the car, and we're going to wiggle that sway bar, and I want you to listen. Here we are under the car, and we're just going to grab our sway bar. You hear that? This end link here has play in it. And if we're going to do one, we're going to do two. So we need two rear sway bar end links to go along with the ones that we need to do in the front. And that's really all we need back here. This car does have a small exhaust leak. What I want to do is fix the alternator first and see how loud it is with the alternator replaced. If it's not that bad, probably not going to worry about it. If it is, we'll take it to a muffler shop and have them welded, which probably, I'm assuming it's a flex pipe. Most of these front-wheel drive vehicles, because of the way the powertrain is set up, when you accelerate and decelerate, the powertrain likes to rock forward and backward. And when that happens, it puts wear on the flex pipe, and that's the first thing to go. So they're super common on front-wheel drive cars, and you can get them replaced for usually under $100 at most halfway decent muffler shops. So I can't really say I would have a bad conscience selling a car with a small exhaust leak from a flex pipe, because it's not detrimental to the performance of the car, nor is it something that's super expensive to replace. So like I said, let's get that alternator in when that comes in. Let's get everything else ordered here. Let's take care of the suspension. Let's make this car drive really nice. And then we'll see where we're at. Like I said, I'm looking to get between $4,500 and $4,800 for this. If I fix that flex pipe, I'm probably going to want closer to $5,000. And like I said, I'm going to put a screenshot of the Kelly Blue Book value on this car, because it surprised the hell out of me too. So let's see what we can do here. Let's get our parts ordered and go from there. Alright guys, we just went ahead and ordered everything. We ordered front lower control arms and sway bar end links. We ordered rear sway bar end links. We ordered some filters. We have an alternator on the way. And we are going to get rocking and rolling on this car. Once we finish everything up, we'll do the same breakdown. What we have in it with the car, the parts, everything. And then I have to decide if I want to sell this car or not, because I love my 07 Camry, but these cars are really nice. If I decide to keep it, I am going to get the seat fixed. I am going to go a little bit more than I would if I were flipping it, but I am replacing everything now as if I was going to keep it. I'm not using cheap parts. I'm using good stuff, and we'll go from there. I know the whole point of these things is to flip them and make money. And you know what? Maybe we will flip this and take that money and buy a nicer example of something like this, but I got the wheels in my head turning. I don't know what I'm going to do. So please like, share, and subscribe if this kind of video interests you. We're going to have plenty more going on this year. We're taking the channel to the next level. So we'll see you on the next one.